The year was 2037. Earth was still a mess. Countries argued over land, water, and power. Climate change made storms worse and summers hotter. People had phones that could talk to each other across the world, but they still couldn't fix the big problems. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, something strange happened. One night, a bright light fell from the sky. It burned like fire as it crashed into the water. It was not a plane, not a satellite, not anything humans had built. Governments watched it happen. Within hours, military ships and research teams were sent to the crash site. Among them was Laura Grant, a scientist who studied life in the deep sea. She was used to diving into darkness, looking for creatures no one had seen before. This time, she was told to look for something else, something that had come from far away. Also on the team was Danny Reyes. He was good with machines, better than most. He grew up fixing old cars and building computers from broken parts. Now he worked for the Defense Department, helping to understand things that did not belong on Earth. When they arrived, the ocean was calm, but something huge was under the surface. Sonar scans showed a shape deeper than any wreck ever found. After days of searching, divers reached it. A ship, but not human-made. It looked broken, like it had been in a fight. Metal plates were torn open. Wires glowed faintly, and inside they found bodies. Not human bodies. Laura and Danny helped bring back pieces of the ship. They also brought back data, logs, symbols, sounds. The scientists tried to make sense of it all. Slowly, they learned the truth. The ship had not just fallen. It had been shot down. Someone or something had been fighting out there in space. Then came more news. Strange signals were coming from beyond the moon. Ships, alien ships, were moving between planets. And they were not peaceful. What started as a mystery turned into a warning. Earth was not alone. And now, someone knew it too. The world changed fast. Once the alien ship was found, government stopped arguing and started working together. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers studied the wreckage day and night. They pulled data from broken machines, scanned strange metals, and tried to understand the voices in the logs. What they learned scared them. The two alien groups fighting in space were called the Xanthari Dominion and the Virex Coalition. No one knew what they were fighting over, but Earth was now in the middle of their war. The aliens did not see humans as equals. To them, Earth was just another rock in space, a place to be used or ignored. At first, humans tried to talk. Messages were sent into space. Peaceful words. Open hands. But the aliens did not answer. Some ships even fired on satellites near the moon. Then came the first real attack. A Virex scout fleet entered Earth's orbit. They dropped something into the atmosphere. It looked like a seed, but when it hit the ground in Africa, it opened and released a cloud that turned the land dead and silent. People nearby vanished. No bodies, no signs. Just gone. The world reacted with fear and anger. Laura Grant and Danny Reyes watched from a control room as leaders argued. Some wanted to fight back, others wanted to hide. But there was no hiding anymore. Then came the order. Launch a strike. Using weapons taken from the crashed alien ship, a team of pilots flew modified fighters into the Pacific. They aimed at a Virex scouting ship floating above the ocean. It had shields, lasers, missiles, but it did not expect humans to fight. The attack was quick. Beams of light shot through the sky. Explosions lit up the clouds. The alien ship burned and fell into the sea. The world held its breath. Then, silence, until more ships appeared on radar, bigger ones, angrier ones. The Xanthari Dominion had seen what happened. Instead of leaving, they sent a message. You do not belong here. Earth had made its first move in a war it did not start. And now the enemy was coming. People looked to the sky with fear. But some looked with fire in their eyes. They were tired of being pushed aside. Tired of being told they were too weak, too slow, too small. They were human. And they were done being ignored. The attack changed everything. No more talk, no more waiting. The aliens saw humans as a threat now, and that meant war. Laura Grant stayed in the research labs working with teams trying to understand alien weapons. Danny Reyes helped build new fighter ships, mixing human parts with alien tech. They called them hybrids, fast, strong, and built for space. On the ground, soldiers trained like never before. Among them was Jason Holt, a former Navy SEAL who had fought in deserts and mountains back when wars were still on land. Now he trained others how to fight in orbit, in zero gravity, inside broken ships. Cities began to change. Big towers were built to launch ships into space. Old airports became spaceports. People worked day and night. Factories made armor, fuel, weapons. Schools taught physics and flight instead of just history and math. Then came the first real battle, a Centauri. Dreadnought entered orbit, a massive ship black and sharp like a blade. It fired down at New York City. Buildings crumbled, fires spread, thousands died. Earth answered. From hidden bases, human fighters rose into the sky. They flew fast, guided by Danny's systems. Some were piloted by soldiers, others were drones, controlled from underground command centers. Jason led a team to Antarctica. There, under miles of ice, was a Centauri command post. It was feeding data to enemy ships in space. If they could destroy it, they could blind the enemy. The mission was hard, cold, dark. But Jason and his team moved through frozen tunnels, past alien machines that scanned for life. They placed charges and set the timers. The explosion lit up the ice. Back in space, the human fleet pushed forward. They did not have the numbers, but they had surprise, speed, courage. One pilot, a young woman named Amy Cruz, flew her ship straight into a Virex carrier. She knew she would not come back, but the explosion took out half the enemy fleet. People across Earth watched the battle on screens. They saw their ships fall, but they also saw enemies burn. This was not the end. It was only the start. For the first time, humans were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. The war had come to Earth, but humans were not backing down. After the battle over New York, the world changed again. People no longer looked up at the sky in fear alone. They looked with fire in their eyes. Jason Holt returned from Antarctica a hero. His team had destroyed the alien command post, and for the first time, the enemy had pulled back. It was a small win, but it showed something important. The aliens could be beaten. Laura Grant worked non-stop in the labs. She had cracked part of the alien language and found something shocking. Earth was not just in the way. It was on a path that both alien factions needed to move through. Space highways like roads between stars. If humans controlled Earth's orbit, they could control who came and went. Danny Reyes took that idea and ran with it. He helped build the first human-made shield system around the planet. Big towers on land and floating stations in orbit sent up energy fields that blocked enemy scans and missiles. It was not perfect, but it gave humans a fighting chance. Then came the next attack. A Virex fleet dropped out of warp near Mars and headed straight for Earth. This time, the humans were ready. Fighter squadrons launched from hidden bases across the globe. Some flew old planes turned into spaceships. Others rode sleek fighters built from captured alien tech. Jason led a ground team in Texas, where a Virex dropship tried to land. The aliens thought they would find easy targets. Instead, they met soldiers armed with plasma rifles and body armor made from Centauri scrap. The fight was brutal. Explosions lit up the night. Machines crashed. People bled. But when the sun rose, the battlefield belonged to the humans. Back in space, Danny's plan worked. Human ships lured the enemy into a trap. They pretended to run, drawing the Virex into a tight formation. Then, from behind the moon, a hidden station fired a beam of pure energy. It tore through the enemy fleet like lightning through clouds. For the first time, humans pushed an alien force out of their sky. As the wreckage burned, Laura stood before world leaders and said one thing: "We are not primitive anymore." People cheered. Cities lit up. Across the world, hope grew. The war was far from over. But now the humans were not just defending their home. They were starting to take the fight to the stars. After the battle, the galaxy took notice. For the first time, a species that had not been part of the Great Wars had won a fight. And not just once, but many times. The Zenthari Dominion and the Virex Coalition had both lost ships, soldiers, and pride to humans. They could no longer pretend Earth was just another rock to be crushed. A message came from beyond the stars, not a threat, not a warning, an invitation. The Galactic Council wanted to meet. They sent a ship unlike anything humans had seen. Smooth, silver, and huge. It did not attack. It hovered above Africa, where the first alien weapon had landed. It waited. Laura Grant was chosen to speak for Earth. She was not a soldier or a politician, but she understood the alien tech better than anyone. Beside her stood Jason Holt, still wearing his old combat jacket, and Danny Reyes, who had built half the machines that had helped win the war. They flew up to the alien ship. Inside, everything glowed softly. Tall beings with eyes like stars watched them walk into the meeting hall. Some were tall and thin, others short and covered in scales. None looked human. Laura spoke. She told them what had happened, how humans had been ignored, attacked, and forced to fight. She showed them the damage, the dead, the ruins left behind. She did not ask for pity. She asked for respect. Some aliens laughed. Others nodded. One, a being made of light and metal, said, "You are strong, but strength alone does not earn a place among us." Jason stepped forward. He looked at them all and said, "We didn't ask for this war. We didn't want to fight. But when you came to our world, you gave us no choice. If we stand here now, it's because we earned it." There was silence. Then, a vote. The council decided. Humans would not be ruled by them. They would not be controlled. They were free to make their own choices, and some would be welcome as allies. When they returned to Earth, the world changed again. People began building new ships. Real ones. Not copies of alien tech, but designs made by humans. Danny led the team that built the first human-made starship. Laura worked on learning more about the space lanes the aliens used. Jason trained a new kind of soldier. One ready for peace but always ready for war. Earth had survived the storm. Now, it was stepping into the stars. Earth was healing. The cities that had burned were being rebuilt. New homes rose where once there had been only fire and ash. Farms grew food again, and power came back to places that had gone dark during the war. But while people on the ground tried to return to normal, others looked up, not with fear, but with purpose. Jason Holt no longer walked on Earth much. He now led the first human deep space fleet, flying ships built by humans, for humans. They were not perfect, but they flew true. His job was to protect the new colonies being built on moons and space stations. Some were near Mars, others around Jupiter. They were small, but they were a start. Laura Grant had become Earth's voice in the stars. She traveled between alien worlds, making deals, asking questions, learning secrets. Some aliens still saw humans as trouble. Others saw them as partners. She worked hard to make sure more joined that second group. Danny Reyes stayed behind on Earth, but his mind reached far beyond it. He helped build machines that could think, weapons that could aim on their own, and ships that could fly faster than light. He also made sure humans did not lose what made them strong, their will to fight, to learn, and to stand together when things were bad. Life among the stars was not easy. Some alien groups still wanted revenge. Others tried to trick humans, giving them bad maps or fake tech. But humans learned fast. They made friends too. Some alien pilots, scientists, and traders who believed in this young species that refused to stay down. Then came word from the edge of human space. Something new was moving out there. Not Zenthari. Not Virex. Someone else. A signal came through. Not a message, just a warning. A name whispered in old alien records, the Karzoon. a race thought lost to time. Rulers of galaxies long before most current species were born. They did not talk. They did not trade. They only took. And now, they were coming. On every ship, in every colony, humans felt it. The next storm was building. This time, they would not wait for it to reach Earth. This time, they would meet it in the stars. The Karzoon came like a shadow across the stars. Their ships were not built for battle alone. They were built to erase. Entire colonies vanished in moments, leaving no trace. Human ships sent to scout never returned. Their weapons cut through shields like paper. For the first time since the war began, humans felt fear not just on Earth but in space. Jason Holt knew they could not fight like before. This enemy did not make mistakes. They did not stop. They did not talk. He called for help. Aliens who had once fought each other now stood together. Xanthari pilots flew beside human crews. Virex warships joined the line. Even old traders and pirates answered the call. They would make their stand near Mars. Laura Grant worked from Earth, sending data, warnings, and plans. She had found ancient records buried in alien archives, stories of the Karzoon from long ago. They had ruled once, then disappeared. Now they were back. Danny Reyes built what he could with what little time there was. He linked every human ship to a single system. He gave fighters new speed, new power, and one last weapon. A trap, a black hole generator. It was risky, unstable, deadly, but it was all they had. When the Karzoon arrived, the sky burned. Ships clashed in waves of fire and light. Jason led the charge, flying straight into the storm. His fleet took heavy hits. Many died. But they held the line. Then came the moment. The trap was set. Danny fired the signal. Deep space stations activated the device. A tear opened in space. A spinning dark eye that pulled everything toward it. Jason stayed behind. He guided the enemy into the void, flying his broken ship straight at the largest Karzoon warship. He crashed into it, sending both into the black hole's pull. Silence followed. Then, victory. The rest of the Karzoon fleet was gone. The threat was over. For now, on Earth, people mourned. They remembered the dead. They rebuilt again. But this time they did not look down. They looked up. Laura spoke at the United Nations, standing where she had once given her first report about the alien crash. She said only this: "We were primitive. We were ignored. But we rose. And now, we are here to stay." New ships launched. New explorers stepped forward. Humans were no longer just from Earth. They were from the stars.